Breaking news right now, the news conference that we've been telling you about, that we told you about at the top of the hour from the governor's office, is getting ready to start. They're talking about the lower North Fork fire.
State lawmakers, the governor and the attorney general have come to some sort of an agreement, we are told, on how the fire victims could be compensated. And here they are about to begin this news conference. Here we go with the governor.
All right. Should we just start? Is that okay? Okay. Thank you all for coming today. Certainly nothing in trying to get to the resolutions around the fire has been easy, and certainly it's been especially true for those who were directly impacted. And I was actually out earlier this week with Scott Apple and walked his site, looked at several other sites. You cannot miss the immediacy of what those people endured, and we recognize and appreciate that. Certainly their losses have been indescribable, and I think that there's nothing that's going to get done in this building that is going to be totally replace what they've lost. But I think we do have a duty to determine, exactly what happened and how it happened, and to make sure that we look at finding out what is the proper resolution, and if restitution is needed, what is the appropriate restitution. We wanted to make sure that in so doing, we did it in a way that conformed to our system that we have in Colorado that has emerged over many years. And I'm certainly grateful that we have the legislative leadership here today, Attorney General Suthers, to help us create a solution that everyone can buy into. And I think that allows the lower North Fork fire victims to seek compensation for their loss in the appropriate way. I want to especially emphasize that it's incredibly powerful to the state to have what they used to tell me when I first got elected mayor, that a lawyer's lawyer. And I think our Attorney General is a lawyer's lawyer, someone that other lawyers look up to and is immersed in the law, loves the law, and understands the importance of making sure that we have consistency and that the law, that we stay consistent with ourselves. What we're proposing, this bill, which we don't have a final draft yet, but I think we all agree in principle, that would add an amendment to the Colorado Government Immunities Act and allow prescribed burns to be added to the list of waivers from government immunity. And this would be retroactive back to January 1st, 2012. And I think that pretty much everyone agrees, if you look down the list of what are those things where people can seek restitution, prescribed burns should have always been on that list. And for some reason, no one thought of it, no one looked at it. That oversight doesn't mean that people that the victims of the lower North Fork fire shouldn't have that ability to seek restitution. So this is going to allow that to happen. The Government Immunities Act was amended in 1992. I believe it was as a result of the tragic bus crash when the boulder hit the bus in 1987, that allows victims to seek redress beyond the $150,000 per individual, $600,000 aggregate per incident cap. In other words, it allows, if the damages are deemed to have been more significant, they will be able to go above that. And I think from a moral perspective, we recognize that this allows the victims to have an opportunity to really have the system, be able to work within the system. The amended law is going to create a waiver for prescribed burns that were started or maintained by the state if the state or the employee of the state acted negligently in starting or maintaining the fire. This is only going to cover state action. Government immunities for cities, counties, other political subdivisions won't change, is not being affected. And it doesn't change the $150,000 per person cap or the $600,000 per event cap under current law. The bill does make clear, however, that the Colorado State Claims Board, which the Attorney General sits on, the Treasurer sits on, and the head of DPA sits on, can recommend to the General Assembly that it authorize payments in amounts greater than the current caps. And this applies to cases where the board determines the caps are unjust or inequitable given the facts and the circumstances of the individual cases. And I think here we all recognize our immediate need is to assist the victims of the North Fork fire. It allows fire victims to make claims under the new law, and I think it gives them an avenue to seek redress. Again, I want to thank our legislative leaders, and especially the Attorney General for putting in so much time. His team's done an incredible job. Let me introduce our Attorney General, John Suthers.
Thank you, Governor. I want to begin by thanking Representative Giroux and until the end of the year, my personal representative, Representative Gardner, for bringing forward this issue, because in my mind it's been an issue for some time about the extent to which our limits, which are some of the lowest in the country, can appear unjust in some circumstances. The legal issue that we had was to make sure that we frame some legislation that has general application going forward and doesn't constitute special legislation. In other words, the Colorado Constitution doesn't allow us to take a group of already identified citizens and treat them differently than the rest of the population. And so that was a concern that we have been addressing over the last several days. And this agreement in principle that we have today, and we're still got drafters trying to put it on paper, solves those problems. First of all, it is not special legislation when you make some provisions that will apply to all people going forward. In all cases going forward, the Claims Board, if they believe that the current limits applied to a particular case are unjust or extremely inadequate, they can recommend to the legislature that they make payments in excess of those limits, and it will be up to the legislature. They can hold hearings about it, decide what would be appropriate in the circumstances, decide what sort of money is available for appropriation, and make payments over and above these limits. We have also, as of January 1st, 2012, included negligence in supervising or administering a controlled burn as one of the things that the state waives immunity for. And your question might be, well, can you do that retroactively? And the answer is yes, you can. You've heard, in the criminal context, you've heard a notion called ex post facto laws. You can't go back and make punishments more severe and things like that. In the civil law, we talk about retrospective application of law. And the legal principle is that you can't go backwards and change the law in a way that burdens citizens. So if I've got a license in Colorado and there are certain qualifications that attach to that, the legislature can't pass a bill and say everybody has to have this qualification and make it retroactive, and if I don't have that, I'm out of luck. You can't do retrospective application that burdens citizens' rights. But in this case, we're simply saying for all negligently supervised controlled burns after the January of last year, we're covering that. That is something that we're waiving immunity for, because we're not burdening.
All right, that is the Attorney General John Suthers speaking. A lot of legal talk here, but basically what they're talking about is waiving immunity for controlled burns, and specifically regards to the lower North Fork fire, where the maximum amount was $600,000 that people could be compensated per event, $600,000 per event. And a lot of folks were saying we need more money, or we need to be able to be highly compensated. highly is not the right word, but compensated in a better way
Appropriately, yeah.
that is more appropriate for their land loss and the loss of loved ones.
Two interesting points in this. One is that the law isn't changing. The law still stands with the $600,000 cap. But what he is saying is that there are exceptions to that. And if the Attorney General, and as a part of a committee, decides there's an exception, such as the situation with the Lower North Fork fire, they can suggest to the legislature to make a special case out of that. The other is, and I thought it was very interesting, nobody's really taking blame even still out of this, although backhandedly they are saying that if we start a prescribed burn and something bad happens, then we should.
Well, the
take
issue
care
is
of it.
they're adding an amendment
Yeah.
to the existing legalese. So
Right.
we will stay on top of this news conference, of course, bring you all the information coming up on 7 News at 5 o'clock.
See you then.